In the 41st millennium, there is only war. On the fortress world of Mandragora Prime, the 13th Black Crusade had left its bloody mark. The planet's northern continent burned under the endless siege of chaos forces. Traitor Astartes of the Wordbearers Legion carved blasphemous runes into the very bedrock, attempting to summon entities from the warp that would tear reality asunder. Captain Severus Dane of the Ultramarine Second Company stood atop the shattered remnants of Bastion Tertius, his power sword dripping with the blood of cultists. Around him, his battle brothers fought with the discipline and fury that had made the Ultramarines legendary across the Imperium. But even their transhuman might was faltering. "Brother Captain," Sergeant Castor's voice crackled through the vox. "The ritual approaches completion. If they finish, I know what will happen, Sergeant." Severus's jaw tightened beneath his helm. "Hold the line. Reinforcements are—" The sky split open, not with the sickening tear of a warp rift nor the thunderous arrival of drop pods. Reality simply parted. Like a wound in the fabric of existence, a crimson tear appeared high above the battlefield, and through it tumbled a figure, a bald man in a yellow bodysuit and white cape. He fell toward the surface, spinning lazily, seemingly unconscious. Cultists and space marines alike paused in their battle, staring upward at this impossible sight. "What manner of sorcery?" Severus began. Saitama hit the ground between the two armies with the force of an orbital strike. The impact created a crater 50 meters wide. The shockwave flattened cultists and sent even power-armored Astartes staggering backward. Dust and debris filled the air, obscuring all vision. When it cleared, a figure stood at the crater's center, scratching his bald head with a confused expression. "Huh," Saitama said, looking around. "This definitely isn't the supermarket." From the chaos lines, a massive figure emerged. Dark Apostle Malachi, his ancient armor festooned with chaos stars and parchments of forbidden scripture, pointed an accusatory claw at Saitama. "A trick of the false emperor," his voice boomed, amplified by his helm's vox grill. "Kill this fool and complete the ritual!" Possessed cultists surged forward, their bodies twisted by demonic mutation. Claws the size of power swords, tentacles writhing from eye sockets, mouths filled with brass fangs. They were no longer human, but vessels of warp-spawned horror. Saitama watched them come with mild curiosity. "Are these like zombies or something?" The first cultist reached him. A massive brute with 4 arms, each ending in jagged bone blades. It lunged with inhuman speed. Saitama casually sidestepped and flicked its forehead. The cultist exploded. Not just killed, utterly disintegrated into a fine red mist that dispersed on the wind. The creatures behind it stumbled to a halt, their warp-addled minds processing what they'd witnessed. "Okay," Saitama said, cracking his knuckles. "Who's next?" What followed was less a battle and more a systematic dismantling. Each casual punch, each lazy kick resulted in explosions of corrupted flesh. Within 30 seconds, the entire cultist horde, hundreds of possessed humans that had terrorized 3 continents, simply ceased to exist. Dark Apostle Malachi stared in disbelief. Impossible. Those were blessed by the ruinous powers themselves. They were weak, Saitama interrupted, sounding disappointed. "Really weak. Don't you guys have anything stronger?" The word-bearer's fury erupted. He raised his accursed Crozius, crackling with warp lightning. "I am Malachi, Dark Apostle of the 17th Legion. I have commanded legions. I have torn worlds asunder in the name of the true gods." "Cool story," Saitama said. Malachi charged, his ancient power armor propelling him forward with force that would shatter Ceramite. He brought his Crozius down in a blow that had shattered land raiders. Saitama caught it with one finger. The Dark Apostle's eyes widened behind his helm. He pulled back, swung again, caught again. He activated his armor's strength enhancers to their absolute maximum, channels warp power through his weapon, and struck with all the fury of 10,000 years of hatred. Saitama yawned. "Are you done?" the bald hero asked. "What are you?" Malachi's voice cracked with something the Chaos Space Marine hadn't felt in millennia. Fear. "Just a guy who's a hero for fun." Saitama flicked the Crozius, and it shattered like glass. Then he tapped the Dark Apostle's chest plate. The ancient power armor, which had survived the Horus heresy itself, crumpled like parchment. Malachi flew backward, crashing through 3 ruined buildings before finally coming to rest. When the dust settled, his armor was ruined and he did not rise. Captain Severus approached cautiously, his power sword still drawn. His ultramarines formed a protective cordon, weapons trained on this strange newcomer. "Identify yourself," Severus commanded, his voice carrying the authority of the Adeptus Astartes. Saitama turned, noticing the giant armored warriors for the first time. "Oh, cool armor. You guys look way more professional than those Chaos guys." "I'm Saitama. Who are you?" "I am Captain Severus Dane of the Ultramarines. You stand upon an imperial world. By what authority?" "Actually," Saitama interrupted, "where am I? This doesn't look like Earth." Before Severus could respond, the ground beneath them began to shake. The ritual the cultists had been performing hadn't been stopped, only delayed. From the blasphemous runes carved into the earth, warp energy began to surge. "The ritual," Sergeant Castor shouted. "It's completing without them." A massive rift tore open in reality. Through it poured demons, lesser demons of Tsinch, gibbering pink and blue horrors, their forms constantly shifting and changing. Behind them came something larger. A demon prince, once a mighty champion of chaos, now ascended to immortal demonhood. Its wings blotted out the sun. Its roar shattered windows in structures kilometers away. The very air around it crackled with warp energy that caused mortal men to weep blood. The Ultramarines opened fire immediately, bolt rounds exploding against the demon's hide to minimal effect. Lescanon beams scored its flesh but did not slow it. Saitama watched this with growing interest. "Oh, now this looks more promising." The demon prince's multiple heads all turned to focus on Saitama. When it spoke, reality itself seemed to bend around the words. "Fresh meat for the crucible. Your soul will burn in the warp for eternity." "Yeah, okay," Saitama said. "Let's see what you've got." The demon descended like a meteor, claws extended, each one the size of a power sword. It struck with force that would have leveled a city block. Saitama caught its claw with one hand. The demon prince's three eyes widened in disbelief. It pulled back, channeled warp fire through its form, and struck again with all the fury of the immaterium behind it. Saitama caught it again. "Huh, you're a bit stronger than the others." "That's good." He pulled the demon down and headbutted it. The demon prince exploded. Not just its physical form, its entire warp presence shattered like glass. The rift it had emerged from convulsed and collapsed in on itself. The lesser demons, cut off from the warp, dissolved into ectoplasmic residue. Silence fell over the battlefield. Captain Severus Dane, a veteran of 2 centuries of warfare, stood frozen. His battle brothers were equally stunned. What they had just witnessed defied every tactical assessment, every strategic doctrine they had been taught. A single man, not a space marine, not in power armor, not wielding blessed weapons, had just destroyed a demon prince with a headbutt. Saitama dusted off his gloves. One punch again, well, one headbutt, still counts. Astitu, the Inquisition's attention, 15 or 35, the blade of Macragge, an Ultramarines strike cruiser, hung in orbit above Mandragora Prime. In its interrogation chambers, normally reserved for heretics and Xenos infiltrators, Saitama sat on a reinforced chair, looking bored. Across from him sat 3 figures, Captain Severus still in his power armor, a tech priest of the Adeptus Mechanicus named Magos Kelvin, and a tall woman in a black coat lined with purity seals, Inquisitor Amara Vex of the Ordo Malleus. Vex leaned forward, her augmetic eye whirring as it analyzed Saitama. "Let me be clear about your situation. You appeared from nowhere, destroyed a chaos incursion single-handedly, and claimed to be from—" "Where exactly?" "Earth," Saitama replied. "Specifically, Z-City. I was chasing this weird monster through a portal it made, and then I ended up here. Earth is Terra, the throne world of the God Emperor," Severus said, "and you are no Terran I have ever encountered." "I think it's a different Earth." Saitama scratched his head. "Everything looks super different here. Way more gothic." Magos Kelvin's mechadendrites writhed with agitation. The subject's cellular structure is baseline human, yet displays impossible capabilities. "My hypothesis, ancient archaeotech enhancement, possibly from the dark age of technology." "I just did a lot of training," Saitama said. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run. Every single day. The 3 interrogators exchanged glances. "That is," Vex began. The most absurd thing I have ever heard, and I have interrogated chaos cultists who believed they were married to demons. Saitama shrugged. It worked, though. Brother Captain, one of Severus's sergeants, entered the chamber. Urgent vox from Imperial Command. The Orkwa on Armageddon has breached the inner defense lines. They're requesting immediate reinforcement. Severus's jaw tightened. How many? Severus's jaw tightened. How many? Millions. Led by war boss Grimnag Ironskull. He's united 3 separate WAs. Intelligence suggests he's the largest war boss seen in this sector in 50 years. Saitama perked up. Orcs, like strong ones? The green tide Armageddon, a world defined by war. Its hive cities were fortresses, its people born into conflict. For decades, it had resisted orc invasions through sheer imperial stubbornness and oceans of blood. But war boss Grimnag Ironskull was different. Larger than a dreadnought clad in cobbled-together mega armor, wielding a power claw the size of a rhino transport, he was the embodiment of orc cunning and brutality. His Wah had smashed through the Armageddon Steel Legion's outer defenses in a matter of days. Now they stood at the gates of High Volcanus, ready for the final assault. The blade of Macraggy translated into real space above Armageddon. In the deployment bay, Ultramarines prepared for drop pod assault. Beside them, looking distinctly out of place in his yellow suit, stood Saitama. You understand the tactical situation? Severus asked, maglocking his bolter to his armor. Big green guys attacking a city. I punch them. Got it. These are not ordinary opponents. Orcs grow stronger as they fight. Grimnag Ironskull has been fighting for over a century. He is, super strong, super dangerous. Saitama stretched. Can we just go already? Inquisitor Vex, also present, narrowed her eyes. You seem eager. Well, that demon thing was okay, but it only took one hit. Maybe these orcs will be more fun. Fun, Vex repeated slowly. You view warfare as entertainment. I view it as a job. Well, hobby. But yeah, kind of boring when everything dies in one punch. The drop pods launched, dozens of them streaking through Armageddon's ash-choked atmosphere like meteors. Saitama rode in the same pod as Captain Severus, looking mildly uncomfortable in the cramped space designed for power-armored warriors. So, Saitama said as they descended, do these pods have seatbelts or? They hit the ground. The impact would have liquefied a normal human. Saitama stumbled slightly as the pod doors blew open. Okay, that was rough. They had landed directly in front of High Volcanus's main gate. Before them stretched an ocean of green, millions of orcs, their crude war machines, their deafening wah, chant shaking the very ground, and at their head, war boss Grimnag Ironskull. The massive orc turned his pig-like eyes toward the newly arrived Ultramarines. He grinned, revealing tusks the size of combat knives. More boys to crump, he bellowed. This is gonna be a good scrap. The Ultramarines opened fire immediately, their bolters creating a wall of explosive rounds. Orcs fell by the dozens, but dozens more pushed forward, firing back with crude but effective shooters and big shooters. Saitama walked forward, hands in his pockets, completely ignoring the hail of gunfire that was turning the ground around him into a cratered wasteland. Orc rounds pinged harmlessly off his yellow suit. Oi, one orc boy pointed. Dat homie ain't dyin'. Shoot him more! The orcs concentrated their fire on Saitama. Rockets, bullets, energy weapons, everything in their considerable arsenal. The bald hero continued walking, looking slightly annoyed. This is getting repetitive, he muttered. War boss Grimnag Ironskull pushed through his own boys to see what the commotion was. When he saw Saitama, this small, bald human in a bright yellow suit, he laughed, a sound like grinding metal. What's this den? Some kind of weird boy? Saitama looked up at the massive orc. You're the boss, right? You supposed to be strong? I'm the biggest and the strongest, Grimnag roared. I've crumped more boys than you've had hot dinners. I've smashed whole armies. I'm cool, Saitama interrupted. Fight me. The war boss's eyes narrowed. Then he grinned. All right then, come here, Baldy. Grimnag swung his power claw, a weapon that had torn through land raiders, that had crushed Terminator armor, that had killed a Space Marine captain in single combat. Saitama caught it with his palm. The shockwave of the impact blew backward thousands of orcs. Nearby vehicles flipped over. The ground cracked for 50 meters in every direction. Grimnog stared at his claw, held completely motionless by this small human's hand. That's impossible, he muttered. I get that a lot, Saitama said. Your turn's over. My turn now. Normal punch. His fist moved forward casually, almost lazily. It connected with Grimnag's chest plate. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Warboss Grimnag Ironskull, the largest orc warboss seen in the sector in 50 years. The beast who had united 3 Was, the terror of Armageddon, exploded, not just killed. Utterly annihilated. A cone of destruction extended behind him for 300 meters, vaporizing every orc in its path and carving a canyon into the ground. The Wah fell silent. Millions of orcs, creatures who lived for battle, who knew no fear, who charged headlong into certain death for the joy of fighting, stood frozen in disbelief. Their warboss was gone. Simply gone. Wag is over, boys. One orc shouted and they ran. Not a tactical retreat, but pure panicked flight. The entire Wah broke and scattered, orcs trampling each other in their haste to escape the yellow-suited doom. Captain Severus stood amidst the carnage, his helm's autosenses still trying to process what they'd recorded. By the Emperor's throne, he whispered. Inquisitor Vex, watching from the command post, gripped her chair's armrests so tightly they cracked. What manner of being have we found? She said softly. Word of Saitama's victory spread across Armageddon like wildfire. Within hours, every Vox network on the planet buzzed with tales of the bald warrior who had destroyed an orc warboss with a single blow. Pic captures and grainy video footage spread from data slate to data slate. In the refugee camps, people who had lost everything to the orc invasion began to whisper that the God Emperor had sent a champion. In the ecclesiarchy cathedrals, priests debated whether this was a miracle or heresy. Saitama, meanwhile, sat in a mess hall eating military rations and complaining about the taste. This is worse than the cheap stuff back home, he grumbled, forcing down another spoonful of recaf-flavored protein paste. Across from him sat a young guardsman named Kyle, one of the Armageddon Steel Legion who had survived the orc assault. The young man stared at Saitama with barely concealed awe. You saved us all, Kale said quietly. We were going to die. The orcs would have overrun the hive, killed everyone, but you stopped them. Saitama shrugged. Just doing hero stuff. It's kind of what I do. Are you truly a hero? Another voice, this one older, harder. A scarred veteran sergeant sat down at their table. Or are you something else? A weapon, perhaps? A tool of the Inquisition? I'm just a guy who's a hero for fun, yes, we've all heard. The sergeant's eyes narrowed. But nothing is just anything in the Imperium. Everything serves a purpose. Everything has a cost. Before Saitama could respond, the mess hall's Vox system crackled to life. Attention all personnel. We have incoming warp signatures. Multiple vessels translating into real space. Configuration matches. By the Emperor, configuration matches Chaos warships. This is not a drill. All hands to battle stations. Saitama stood up, cracking his knuckles. Looks like there's more fighting. In the void above Armageddon, reality tore open as ships emerged from the warp. Not the crude vessels of orcs, but ancient, terrible warships bearing the 8-pointed star of chaos undivided. At their head, the vengeful spirit, flagship of Abaddon the Despoiler. On the bridge of the Blade of Macragge, Captain Severus watched the tactical display with grim determination. The War Master himself, he said quietly. He's coming here personally. Inquisitor Vex nodded. The question is why? Armageddon is important, but not strategically critical enough to warrant Abaddon's personal attention unless they both turned to look at a screen showing Saitama's location in the mess hall. Unless he's coming for something else, Severus finished. In the warp-touched chambers of the vengeful spirit, Abaddon the Despoiler stood before a viewing portal, gazing down at Armageddon. The greatest champion of chaos undivided, the War Master who had launched 13 Black Crusades against the Imperium, regarded the world with cold calculation. Show me, he commanded. A sorcerer in Baroque armor stepped forward, waving his staff over a scrying pool. Images formed in the warp-tainted water, Saitama destroying the demon prince, Saitama annihilating Grimnag Ironskull. This is the anomaly? Abaddon asked. Yes, War Master. The gods themselves have taken notice. Tsinch finds him fascinating. Khorne desires his skull. Nurgle wishes to test him. Slaanesh. The sorcerer hesitated. Continue. Slaanesh sees in him something different. A being without desire, without excess. It disturbs the Dark Prince. Abaddon's scarred face twisted into something that might have been a smile. Then let us see what this anomaly truly is. Prepare boarding parties. I will face him myself. Saitama was heading back to his assigned quarters when the ship shuddered violently. Alarms began blaring. All hands, we are being boarded. Chaos Space Marines have breached decks 7 through 12. Multiple boarding parties detected. The bald hero sighed. Can I get like 5 minutes to relax? He walked toward the breach points. Around him, Ultramarines rushed to defensive positions. Bulkheads sealed. Automated turrets activated. But nothing could stop what came next. The Chaos Space Marines were not the relatively sane word-bearers. These were veterans of the Long War, warriors who had fought since the Horus Heresy 10,000 years ago. Their armor was ancient and baroque, covered in trophies and blasphemous runes. They killed with precision and fury, bolt rounds tearing through defenders. Saitama turned a corner and found himself face to face with a squad of black legionaries. They paused, assessing this strange target. No armor, no obvious weapons, just a bald man in a yellow suit. The squad sergeant laughed, the sound distorted through his helm's vox grill. Is this the Imperium's great hope? Pathetic. Yeah, you guys aren't the first to think that, Saitama replied. The Chaos Marines opened fire. Bolt rounds exploded against Saitama's suit, achieving nothing. They switched to plasma weapons. The superheated matter dissipated harmlessly. Okay, Saitama said, walking forward. My turn. He tapped each Chaos Marine on the chest. Just tap them. Each one exploded out of their ancient power armor like overripe fruit. Reduced to their component atoms, Saitama continued walking, leaving a trail of shattered armor and ash. He found Abaddon in the ship's main hangar. The War Master had cut through 3 squads of Ultramarines to reach this point. His Talon of Horus, a legendary weapon that had killed countless loyalists, dripped with blood. The War Master turned as Saitama entered. For a long moment, they simply regarded each other. You are the anomaly, Abaddon said, his voice carrying the weight of 10 millennia. I'm Saitama, the hero replied. Are you the boss of these guys? I am Abaddon, chosen of the 4 gods, War Master of Chaos, the one who shall tear down the false emperor's realm. Cool title. You here to fight? Abaddon's eyes narrowed behind his helm. I am here to understand. The gods whisper of you. They say you are a being of pure contradiction, infinite power with no ambition, ultimate strength without purpose. I have a purpose, Saitama said. I'm a hero. A hero, Abaddon repeated mockingly. In a galaxy where heroes die forgotten, where honor is a lie told to the weak, where the only truth is power. Yeah, well, that sounds depressing. Where I'm from, heroes are pretty important. Then let me show you the truth of this galaxy. Abaddon raised the Talon of Horus. The truth of power. He attacked with the speed and skill of 10,000 years of warfare. The Talon tore through reality itself with each swing, warp energy crackling along its lightning claws. He fought with the style that had challenged primarchs, that had nearly killed the Emperor himself. Saitama dodged lazily, hands still in his pockets. You're pretty good, he admitted. Way better than most of the guys I've fought here. Abaddon snarled and pressed his attack, incorporating sorceress energies into his strikes. The hangar floor cracked and shattered. Support beams melted under warp fire. Still, Saitama remained untouched. Your technique is solid, the bald hero observed. But you're still not strong enough to hurt me. Impossible, Abaddon roared, channeling the gifts of all 4 chaos gods into a single devastating strike. Saitama caught the Talon of Horus in his hand. The legendary weapon, blessed by the dark gods themselves, stopped dead. Abaddon pulled back with all his enhanced strength. It didn't budge. Okay, Saitama said. I'm bored now. Time to end this. Serious punch. His fist moved forward with actual intent behind it. Not the casual taps he'd used on the lesser Chaos Marines, but a real punch. It connected with Abaddon's chest plate. The War Master flew backward, crashing through the hangar's far wall, through 3 more decks and out into space. His ancient armor, which had survived 10,000 years of warfare, was cracked and broken. As Abaddon tumbled through the void, his last conscious thought was one of pure disbelief. What? What is he? The remaining Chaos forces retreated immediately, dragging their War Master's unconscious form back to the vengeful spirit. The Chaos fleet withdrew, warp drives engaging as they fled the system. The Inquisition, the High Lords of Terra, the Adeptus Ministorum, every major imperial institution now knew of Saitama. The being who had defeated a demon prince, annihilated an Orc-Wa, and driven off Abaddon the Despoiler himself. The debates raged across thousands of worlds. Was he a saint? A new form of space marine? An ancient weapon from the dark age of technology? A test from the Emperor? Inquisitor Vex received the summons personally. Bring the anomaly to Terra. The Emperor himself will see him. When she told Saitama, he just shrugged. Sure, I guess. Maybe your Emperor knows how to send me home. The journey to Terra took weeks, even through the warp. Saitama spent most of it complaining about the food and asking when they'd arrive. Finally, they reached humanity's throne world. Terra, ancient Earth transformed into a planet-spanning city, its surface covered in cathedrals and fortress monasteries. At its heart, the Imperial Palace, and within that, the Golden Throne. Captain Severus accompanied Saitama, along with Inquisitor Vex and a full honor guard of Adeptus Custodes, the Emperor's personal guardians. These 10-foot-tall warriors in golden armor regarded Saitama with barely concealed suspicion. The Emperor will see you, the Captain General of the Custodes announced. But know this. If you are a threat, we will end you regardless of your power. Yeah, okay, Saitama said, looking around at the ornate palace halls. This place is really overdecorated. They descended into the throne room, a vast chamber lit by the psychic radiance of the God Emperor of mankind. There, upon the golden throne, sat the most powerful psyker in human history, kept barely alive by arcane technology, his withered form a stark contrast to the overwhelming psychic presence that filled the room. Most mortals would have fallen to their knees, overwhelmed. Most would have wept at the sight of their god. Saitama scratched his head. So, are you in charge? The Emperor's psychic voice thundered in everyone's minds, everyone except Saitama, who simply heard it as normal speech. I am. Cool. I'm Saitama. These guys said you might know how to send me home. There was a pause. The Emperor, who had lived for over 40,000 years, who had fought gods and demons, who had shaped the course of human history, seemed genuinely surprised. You wish to leave? Yeah, I've got an apartment and stuff. Plus, the monsters here all go down in one punch. It's kind of boring. Boring? The word echoed with something that might have been amusement. You find the eternal war of the 41st millennium boring. I mean, everyone here is super serious about everything. Where I'm from, at least people can relax between monster attacks. The Custodes shifted uncomfortably, speaking to the Emperor so casually bordered on heresy. You are not of this reality, the Emperor observed. I see that now. You come from a place where the laws themselves are different, where power operates on principles my vast knowledge cannot comprehend. Can you send me back? Perhaps, but first, a test. The Emperor's psychic might flared. A construct formed in the throne room, a perfect recreation of a greater demon of Khorne, but made entirely of psychic energy. Destroy it. Saitama shrugged and punched the construct. It shattered instantly. Another construct appeared, this one a Cetan shard. A fragment of a star god. One punch. The Emperor created construct after construct. A Tyranid hive tyrant. An Eldar avatar of Cain, a Necron overlord. Even a recreation of Horus himself in his prime. Saitama destroyed each with casual ease. Growing more bored with everyone, finally, the Emperor ceased his tests. I understand now. Your power is not of this universe. It operates on different fundamental laws. Here, strength has limits, even mine, but you have no ceiling, no maximum. You are quite literally unlimited. So can you send me home or not? I cannot. The dimensional barrier between our realities is too strong. Even for me. But the Emperor's presence focused, and Saitama felt something, a slight tug, like a distant thread connecting to his home dimension. I can sense your reality. Feel it. There is a way, but it requires time and resources I do not currently have. The Golden Throne binds me. I must maintain the Astronomicon, must hold back the tide of chaos, so I'm stuck here? For now. But I propose an arrangement: serve humanity, protect the Imperium, fight its battles. In return, I will dedicate my remaining strength to finding a way to return you home. It may take years, perhaps decades, but I give you my word. Saitama considered this, and while I'm waiting, I just fight monsters and protect the innocent. Defend humanity, be the hero you claim to be. Okay, Saitama said, I can do that. But I'm not joining any religious stuff or wearing weird armor. I like my suit. If the Emperor could have smiled, he might have agreed. You will be given autonomy, resources, and a ship. Go where you are needed. Do what you do best. One-punch stuff? Precisely the Emperor's fist 3 months later. Saitama stood on the bridge of his newly assigned vessel, a small but fast strike cruiser named the Emperor's Fist. The Imperium had provided him with a crew of voidsmen, a company of Imperial Guard as support troops, and a single handler, Inquisitor Vex, who had volunteered for the assignment. Your first mission, Vex said, pulling up a hololithic display. The Forge world of Metallica is under siege by Necrons. These are ancient Xenos, older than humanity, with technology that borders on the godlike. They've awakened from their tomb world and are systematically harvesting the Forge world's population. Necrons, Saitama repeated. Are they strong? They are nearly indestructible. Each warrior is encased in living metal that repairs itself. Their leaders wield weapons that can unmake matter itself. For the first time in weeks, Saitama looked genuinely interested. Now that sounds promising. The Forge world of Metallica was a nightmare of Gothic industry, vast factories producing weapons for the Imperium's endless wars. Now those factories burned as Necron legions marched through the streets, their Gauss weapons reducing everything to atomic dust. Leading them was Overlord Amontek the Eternal, a Necron lord who had ruled star systems when humanity still lived in caves. His body was a masterwork of necrodermis, and his staff of light could disintegrate tank armor with a gesture. Saitama arrived via drop pod, crashing directly into the center of a Necron phalanx. The ancient Xenos warriors turned their eyeless faces toward him, calculating threat parameters with inhuman precision. Okay, Saitama said, cracking his knuckles. Let's see if you guys are actually tough. The Necrons opened fire. Gauss weapons stripped matter at the atomic level. Tesla destructors sent arcing electricity through the air. Particle whips tore reality itself. Saitama walked through it all completely unharmed. Huh. Your weapons are pretty, but they tickle. He reached the first Necron warrior and flicked it. The ancient war machine exploded into fragments. The living metal tried to reform but couldn't. Saitama's casual strike had been so powerful it had overcome even Necron technology's regenerative properties. Within minutes, an entire phalanx of Necron, warriors, machines that had terrorized countless worlds, was reduced to scattered metal fragments. Overlord Amontek the Eternal watched this display with something approaching concern. In his millions of years of existence, he had never witnessed such casual destruction. Analysis. Threat level catastrophic, his mechanical voice intoned. Probability of victory, approaching 0. He teleported directly behind Saitama, his staff of light charging with enough energy to vaporize a city block. The strike would phase through normal defenses, attack on a quantum level, ensure total annihilation. Saitama caught the staff with 2 fingers. Oh, you're the boss, he said, turning around. Nice teleport trick. Amontek tried to pull his weapon free. It didn't budge. He activated emergency combat protocols, channeling the power of his entire tomb world through his necrodermis frame. Still couldn't move the staff. Impossible, the Necron Lord stated. You are baseline human. You should not— Yeah, I get that a lot. Saitama yawned. Are we fighting or what? Amontek made a strategic calculation. Retreat. He abandoned his staff and teleported away, signaling the full withdrawal of his forces. The Necrons phased out, returning to their tomb world. For the first time in recorded history, a Necron invasion had been repelled by a single individual. On the bridge of the Emperor's Fist, Inquisitor Vex reviewed the battle footage for the 12th time. He made them retreat, she whispered. Necrons don't retreat. They calculate victory probabilities and either win or phase out to try again later. But this, Captain Severus, who had joined them for this mission, nodded grimly. They recognized him as a threat beyond their capacity to handle. The Necrons have technology from before the war in heaven. They've fought Citan, and they fled from Saitama. What does that make him? Vex asked quietly. Saitama's exploits continued. Every few weeks brought new crises, new threats, new impossibilities. He stopped a Terranid splinter fleet by literally punching through the main hive ship's hull, flying through space from bioship to bioship, destroying each with a single blow. He broke up a Dark Eldar raid by chasing their ships into the webway itself, the ancient Eldar dimensional tunnels, and causing so much structural damage the Drukhari declared that sector off limits. He interrupted a chaos ritual by punching the summoning circle, so hard the backlash sent the chaos sorcerers into the warp. Word spread across the galaxy. To Imperial citizens, he was the saint of the one punch, the Emperor's own champion. To Chaos, he was an anomaly to be feared or corrupted. To the Xenos, he was a variable that defied all strategic calculation. But Saitama just found it boring. Another Chaos cult, he said, standing over the ruins of a Tzeentch summoning site. Another one-punch solution? Where are the strong ones? Inquisitor Vex, who had been documenting his missions, looked up from her data slate. You've defeated some of the most dangerous threats in the galaxy. What more do you want? A challenge, Saitama said simply. Back home I had the same problem. Too strong. No one could give me a real fight. I thought maybe in this universe, with all its chaos gods and ancient aliens, someone could finally make me feel something. Feel what? Like I'm actually trying. Like the fight matters. He stared up at the alien sky. When you can defeat anything with one punch, what's the point? Before Vex could respond, their Vox system crackled to life. My Lord Inquisitor, this is Astropath Terminus. Urgent psychic message from Terra. The Golden Throne. Something's wrong. They rushed back to Terra, pushing the ship's engines beyond safe limits. When they arrived, the throne world was in chaos. The Astronomicon, the psychic lighthouse that allowed warp travel across the Imperium, was flickering. In the throne room, tech priests swarmed over the Golden Throne systems. The Emperor's psychic presence was fading, fluctuating dangerously. The Captain General of the Custodes met them at the entrance. The throne is failing faster than predicted. We have days, perhaps hours. If it fails completely, the Emperor dies and the Astronomicon goes dark, Vex finished. The Imperium will fragment. Humanity will fall. Saitama looked at the massive throne, at the withered figure barely alive upon it. Can't you just fix the machine? The technology is from the Dark Age, a tech priest explained. We don't fully understand it. And it requires the Emperor's psychic might to function. If he dies, what if someone else powered it? Saitama asked. Everyone turned to stare at him. You're not a psyker, Vex said slowly. No, but I'm pretty strong. Maybe strength is strength. The tech priests frantically consulted their cogitators. The Custodes debated in hushed tones. It was insane. The Golden Throne required specific psychic energies. Raw physical power couldn't let him try. The Emperor's fading voice echoed. They positioned Saitama next to the throne. Tech priests attached monitoring cables, though they had no idea what they were measuring. Okay, Saitama said. So I just push energy into it? In your own way, the Emperor responded. Your power operates on different laws. Perhaps Saitama placed his hand on the Golden Throne. He didn't channel psychic energy, he had none. He simply, pushed. Not with his muscles, but with whatever impossible force had made him strong in the first place. The Golden Throne's readings went haywire. Every cogitator in the room screamed warnings. Reality around them began to warp and bend, and then stabilized. The Astronomicon blazed brighter than it had in millennia. Across the galaxy, astropaths gasped as the psychic beacon strengthened, its light reaching systems that had been isolated for years. The Emperor's presence surged with renewed vigor. Impossible, he said, and this time there was definite amusement in his voice. You're powering the throne through sheer. I don't even have words for it. Brute force applied to a psychic mechanism, is it working? Saitama asked. Yes. But this is only temporary, you cannot stand here forever. How long do you need? Long enough to repair the throne systems, perhaps. A day. I can do a day. And he did. For 24 hours, Saitama stood with his hand on the Golden Throne, essentially acting as a living battery. Tech priests swarmed over the failing systems, making repairs that should have taken months. Inquisitor Vex watched in fascination and horror. He's doing it. He's actually doing it. The most sacred relic of humanity, powered by a man who trained too hard. When it was over, when the throne's systems were restored and the Emperor's strength returned, Saitama stepped back, stretching. That was boring, he complained. Just standing there for a day. You saved humanity, the Emperor said again. Yeah, but no punching involved. Kind of disappointing. I have good news, however. While you powered the throne, I used my restored strength to calculate the dimensional pathways. I can send you home now. Saitama's eyes widened. Really? Yes. I have opened a stable portal to your reality. It will remain open for 1 hour. A shimmering gateway appeared in the throne room. Through it, Saitama could see Z-City, his apartment, his world. Finally, he said, then paused. Wait, what about all the monsters here? Who's going to punch them? Humanity has endured for 10,000 years without you. We will continue. You have given us hope, shown us that even the impossible can be overcome. That is gift enough. Saitama nodded slowly. He looked at Inquisitor Vex, at Captain Severus, at the assembled custodes. You guys should try to be less depressing, he said. All this Grimdark stuff gets old. Maybe smile occasionally. We will. Consider it, Vex said, and there might have been the ghost of a smile on her face. Saitama walked toward the portal, then stopped. He removed his white cape and handed it to the nearest custodian. Keep this, something to remember me by. The Golden Warrior accepted it like a holy relic. Farewell, Saitama, the hero who was too strong. May your reality appreciate what it has. Yeah, they probably won't, but that's okay. Saitama grinned. At least I can go back to my sales at the supermarket. He stepped through the portal. It closed behind him with a sound like reality sighing in relief. In the centuries that followed, the tale of the Saint of the One Punch became legend. The white cape was enshrined in the Imperial Palace, and pilgrims came from across the galaxy to view it. Some said he was a fragment of the Emperor's own power, given form. Others claimed he was a test, a lesson about the nature of strength. The ecclesiarchy declared him a blessed saint, though the official records remained mysteriously vague about his origins. Only those who had met him, Inquisitor Vex, Captain Severus, the custodes, knew the truth. He had been exactly what he claimed, just a guy who was a hero for fun. And in Z-City, in a small apartment, Saitama returned to find his kettle still boiling. He'd been gone for months in the Warhammer universe, but only seconds had passed in his own reality. He made his tea, sat down in front of his TV, and checked his phone. A message from the Hero Association. New monster alert. Dragon-level threat downtown. Saitama sighed, finished his tea, and suited up. Well, he said to his empty apartment, at least the monsters here might be interesting after all that. He leaped out his window, cape billowing behind him, his spare cape, since he'd given away his original. Behind him, on his wall, hung something he'd brought back, a small purity seal, a gift from Inquisitor Vex. He'd stuck it next to his kitchen calendar. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. But in Z-City, there was a hero who had been there, punched that, and come back in time for dinner. And sometimes, on quiet nights when the monsters were scarce, Saitama would look at that purity seal and remember a universe that needed him, even if everything there only took one punch.